Poliomyelitis, or polio, is a highly contagious viral infection that affects the lungs, nervous system, and spinal cord. During the 1950s, hundreds of thousands of children in the U.S. were infected with polio. In 1952 alone, over 60,000 children were infected with this deadly disease. This widespread epidemic caused alarm to most parents hesitant for their future, and their kids wondering if they will survive or acquiesce death. In the 1950s, widespread epidemics of polio caused most of the country to fall victim to this fatal disease. Since the virus is incurable, most patients were placed in hospitals on life support. There were no other treatments other than respirators and iron lungs to sustain the lives of these children and adults. It came to a point in time where people like Robert Cavendish and Teddy Hall invented the respirator chair. But even then, it was still not a sustainable treatment or prevention for polio. But luckily, there was a man willing to find a suitable treatment, and his name was Jonas Salk. In 1914, Jonas Salk, Albert Sabin, and other scientists started their historical research into polio. They discovered how to use a vaccine to prevent polio in the minor stages and started to develop their first antibody. In 1952, Salk starts early testing with his vaccine. As affected, he tested over 1,000 children on the East Coast, but his attempts failed. The vaccine he had first developed used a live virus. They had thought the virus was still alive enough so that the body would respond and fight the virus. But since the knowledge of vaccines was new, they realized that an almost dead polio vaccine is stronger than a human antibody. As such, over half of the children tested either attained symptoms of poliomyelitis or contracted the actual disease. Since the last attempt failed, Salk continued to do research and developed another vaccine, this time using a killed virus. This also was placed in the oral vaccine and the sugar vaccine. 3 years later, in 1955, the testing of the newly developed vaccine was done, and Salk and Sabin could confidently say that their vaccine is proven to prevent poliomyelitis.
It appears now that we have a practical means for inducing antibody formation to poliomyelitis virus, and that is to the three types of poliomyelitis virus. Now, this antibody is the substance that is present in the bloodstream that is presumed to furnish protection.
Have you found any ill effects at all from it?
There haven't been any whatever. We've had neither sore arms, nor any fever, nor aching, nor any of the usual things that one sometimes encounters, even with diphtheria immunization and tetanus immunization and the other immunizations that are given to children.
This new treatment settled the long-awaited decrease in deaths, decreasing from over 14,000 to less than 5,000 in 1956. But the vaccine still was never a true cure, so thousands of people still suffered through the traumatic illness. And since the polio vaccine and vaccines in general were a new concept, many people could not afford this treatment, causing many government agencies to find ways to make it more affordable. One of these organizations was the March of Dimes.
Well, the National Foundation for Infantile Paralysis was founded in January 3rd, 1938, and it was really founded to be a nationwide effort to eradicate polio.
This company used fundraising to help support families unable to pay for the vaccine, and also helped provide school-wide vaccination events for different districts around the U.S. But other problems about the vaccine started to occur during the era of the March of Dimes. At that time, polio, even though it was a troublesome topic, many people still didn't know much about it, as such more and more people were not as precautious at the time. So other foundations started to try and spread awareness that the vaccine has been invented and everyone needs to get it, just like other shots like tetanus. A while later, in 1958, the crisis seemed to blow over and finally deceased. Although the tragedy of polio never felt like it could fade away, the polio vaccine and its national assistance truly made a triumphant impact towards saving tens of thousands of people in the early years of 1950.